So we had women coming in from all over, basically Europe. We had women in Turkey, Greece, Italy, also in Africa, in Kenya, where we worked with an orphanage where there were girls and women who joined us for the workshops to create the artwork, in Ethiopia, in Niger, in Yemen, in South Asia, India, Pakistan. We had representation from Bangladesh and Iran as well in the film, and also the US. So basically that's how we did the project. It was online. I was delivering the workshops online. We brought the women together online, which was hugely challenging. As you can imagine, people don't have access to internet everywhere. You know, there are all sorts of issues, no access to materials, art materials, for example, and we had to overcome them. You know, I remember trying to call up shops in Kenya, for example, for art materials that I could have delivered to some of the girls in the orphanage. Also languages, we had to cater for different languages and provide translations. So it was a huge effort to bring that all together. As part of the project, I also employed some of the women that have been working with me to give them employment opportunities and to learn skills. And we also gave them some educational aspect as well by introducing them to human rights and telling them more about their rights as well. So it's a mixture, combination of different things, and we actually evaluated that as well. So this gives you an idea of how the project took place. And then, you know, I worked with an animator to put the artwork together, wrote a narrative, a script, and brought it together. And the film takes you around the world, you know, on the migration blanket, takes you around the world to the different countries that the women participated from.
Wonderful. We have a question from Ingrid at the Tolite. I hope I pronounced that right. Who asks about well, whose paintings and drawings were used for film and how many people contributed to it. You already introduced a bit the process, but if you could get a little bit more.
Yeah, we had over, you know, in the end, we combined obviously the original migration blanket, the canvas, the stories from that with the new ones to bring them all together. So we had over 50 women in the end contributing to it. And I've just named all, you know, the countries, and we have over 100 pieces of artwork in there. And this is a project that will continue, basically. We are not, see someone asked a question about where, you know, where they can see the film. Just want to point out that it's not on a public site at the moment because we are organizing events and screenings. We were screened at the Berlin Film Festival that kicked it off this year, where we won Best Animated Short. And you know, we're holding events and screenings. So we've got the World Humanitarian Forum coming up next week. We want to influence policymakers, you know, with stories and you know, call for action on protection of women, because they're always the most vulnerable. I've worked all around the world with women and children in Africa, in Asia, in the Middle East, through my humanitarian work as well. So I have witnessed firsthand what their situation is and the problems that they face.
Right. So again, one more question, both from very similar questions that we have from Ingrid Tatulite again and from Dan van Roysch, who are asking about how did these women feel both contributing to the films and how their reactions after seeing it, how they felt, how were the psychological, emotional reactions. Would you be able to share about that?
Yeah, you know, I don't think they realised I don't think any of us realised what the impact of how this film was going to come, you know, was going to be, and how it was going to come together. Right when we were doing the project, because of the situation, because of COVID, because of everything that we were going through. And they were actually overwhelmed, I think, in the end, and quite, pleasantly surprised. They felt that, they would not have had this opportunity to show their work. Some of them are keen artists as well. So, they were quite happy that they were able to express themselves. Yeah, women, the women that I work with, some of them, were going through, I think everyone around the world has been going through, some kind of sort of having some psychological impact on all of us. So it was a way for them to express themselves in a safe environment, and they were quite happy to feel that they were able to relieve themselves through the artwork, basically. One of the girls said that she felt that during the workshops, it felt like she had a cup full of stress, and that stress was released after she had participated. So that was just some of the feedback that we had. Others said that they felt really that they had a unique opportunity to connect with women all over the world that they would never have had, and to hear other people's stories. It made them feel connected. It made them feel that they had some kind of belonging in this global community online. And I think it really helped them to get through mentally. We provided them with mental health support, and through the creative activities, and being able to express yourself creatively is really important for that, especially in a situation like this. Something like 40 minutes of creative activity, art, can help significantly reduce stress levels. So that was just some of the feedback that we had.
And it's a very powerful image, the idea of a cup full of stress that slightly starts to lower down. I think there were some themes that emerged very powerfully through the artworks. Uh, COVID, of course, was one because it's been present in all our lives. There was also a theme of global solidarity that was almost as powerful as the themes of displacement. Were these themes something that was structured from the beginning, something they were invited to reflect upon, or did that just come out of everyone individually?
Yeah, we did basically give some themes to the women to discuss, having consulted with them as well. As I mentioned, that I also employ some of the women on a freelance basis to work and help, with the project. So, I mean, people wanted to talk about COVID, obviously. So this was how we started the project. And, as I mentioned, we also gave them some lessons on human rights as well, which was combined into the workshops, so that they were able to express themselves as well on this. This was one of the themes. And then in terms of the solidarity, towards the end, you see that the film goes over the English Channel, and the messages of solidarity are shown. Then the pictures of solidarity are come into play then. So yeah, it's a very clear message that there has to be solidarity in terms of and humane policies when it comes to migration policy on Europe and the English Channel in particular. The only people who are suffering right now are the people who are making those journeys, obviously. And I think it needs to be the message of humanity needs to come out more and more, in terms of being able to ensure that people who are in search of safety have, proper safe routes to be able to do that as well.
And building on that, there's a question from Sidali about the source of this positive attitude in women, saying that amidst all the suffering, there is quite a remarkable amount of solidarity, openness, and hope. You've already touched on how central it is, But yeah, if you can tell us a bit more about the source of all this positivity.
Well, I think, you know, people, I think there are a number of things really. You know, asylum seekers and refugees are also quite resilient people, you know, and because of the some of the horrendous journeys they've made and the experiences they've had. And yeah, you have to have hope at the end of the day, to be able to get you through a situation like that. And I think also the fact that we had these workshops with women in similar situations, coming together from around the world, that created a sense of a solidarity and a community that they could really also relate to in a way during this crisis. And I think it helped them sort of uh, um, amplify their solidarity during this situation.
We have another question from Elia Lopez Arzosa. He says that this is a beautiful idea and asks whether it was the refugee and migrant women's decision to write in English for their artworks.
Some of them, well, you see that some, yeah, there is some English writing on the artworks. There are, I think, some pictures that also have some Arabic writing as well. So it was a mixture. I mean, they were encouraged to express themselves in whatever way they wanted to. Um, and the reason why I use art is because it really has no borders when it comes to languages. So the focus really was on the artwork and for them to be able to express themselves in whatever way they wanted to, really. We provided translation in the workshops for people who are not English speakers. Obviously, I am an English speaker. I'm based in the UK. So I know we have people from all around the world on this webinar today. My heritage is Pakistani. My parents were migrants to the UK. So yeah, being able to cater for people is really important, especially in projects that are, cultural projects, art projects. And I think that's one of the things that we do well in Art Connects is, to be able to provide something that is led by women of colour, because right now I think that's really important with increasing hate crimes, and racism, etc. So yeah, it's something that we are really pushing in terms of the way that we work.
It is really important indeed.
Yeah.
We have a question from Norsamin Tuscan Akash, who asks whether there is a specific reason to use a blanket to make these artworks into a blanket and not a carpet or any other
Yeah,
artifact.
yeah.
She says, sorry, just reading the rest of the question. She also says congratulations and says that the blanket is makes her feel much more emotional, as it's maybe is full of memories, supportive. It might be also a way of preserving things.
Yes, thank you, Nur Samin, for your question. The blanket concept is, I came up with this idea of creating a migration blanket because I myself, having been to many camps around the world, the first camp that I went to was Jalozai camp in Pakistan in 2000. And there were 80,000 people, Afghan refugees, living in that camp at that time. And the one thing, and since then I've been to many camps, in Africa, in Kenya, in Chad, in Yemen, in Bangladesh, in different countries. So, one of the things that really stood out for me was the fact that the refugees or the migrants, asylum seekers, they have these blankets, that are the only thing of comfort for many. So this is how the idea came about. And then as an artist, I wanted to bring that to life and the using this notion of quilting, and because actually in my family as well, my mother was a keen seamstress. That's also in my blood, so this was something I wanted to do. But as an abstract artist, I took it to a different level and created this design of a canvas based blanket, which looks like a quilted blanket. So each patch for the blanket created has a story. It contains a story, and the women created their own stories within these patches. So that's how that came about. So yeah, basically that was it. I also want to point out that, as a woman of color, a Muslim woman, I also support equality through the project, human rights, equality, and we support the LGBT community. And we had women, taking part from that community as well, which is very important, especially right now.
Indeed, I think that it's also a beautiful celebration of women craft over time. We have one more question from Ingrid Satellite, who very kindly says that my pronunciation is close enough. Thank you so much. She says, amazing work, Salma, so appreciate it. She would love to contribute to it in any possible way. And she asks, how can we contribute? Can we contact you or Art Connects about similar projects? She knows that Human Aid was doing some workshops for women refugees in her home country, Lithuania.
Sure. I mean, you can contact me through the website, Art Connects. I also have my own website, salmazulfiqar.com, and we are on social media as well. So yeah, you'll be able to find me on Instagram, Twitter, and we have a Facebook page as well. In terms of linking up, yeah, this is a project that is continuing. So if anybody is interested, that in being part of the project in the future, that would be welcomed. So just get in touch with us. We're in the process of fundraising. It's a difficult time. As I mentioned earlier, we're trying to continue supporting the girls and the women that we're working with. So we would welcome any support that anybody can provide to us right now. So yeah.
I have another question from my colleague Bella from behind the scenes.
Yeah.
She asks, "What are you working on next? What are your the projects that you may already have up and going, or that are bubbling inside your head?"
Sure. Well, right now we're focusing on getting the film out, and as I mentioned, it's not on any public site right now. So we're in the process of organising screenings. We have quite a few things coming up, and because of the situation with COVID as well, people are just beginning to sort of confirm what's happening in terms of events this year and next year. The original migration blanket was exhibited in 2019 during the Venice Biennale, and we hope to take the film back there as well next year. That was quite, a really nice surprise for us and the women I work with, because I think it's probably one of the first times that anyone from Birmingham and anyone of colour as an artist, female artist, has been able to show their work there. And work like this as well, because it's also quite a controversial issue. So yeah, basically this is what we're doing at the moment. We're holding events and screenings, which you can sort of see on our website and social media. We'll be putting out announcements for the next events coming up. As I mentioned, the migration blanket will continue, and we'll be looking at that later in the year, basically.
Wonderful. So congratulations for that groundbreaking success in Berlin. I wanted to take a step back and ask you about your experience as a woman of color in the filmmaking industry, in the documentary filmmaking industry.
Yeah. Well, as a filmmaker and an artist, I mean, I started Art Connects in 2017. It was, yeah, really quite an eye-opening experience. You know, the opportunities for women of color, from ethnic minorities, and any minority really, are few and far between. I would say, you know, prior to COVID, for every 100 jobs that are out there in the arts, probably 10 would go to women of color. The representation is not there, and it's even less so now, during COVID. So the situation is pretty dire, I would say, in the arts when it comes to representation of brown, black women, women from minorities. It's just not there. I myself have, I have a lot of experience in the humanitarian field, and I think this really helped to formulate a project that has an impact. But yeah, it's been a very difficult journey, I would say, but it's been very successful as well at the same time. But it is, I mean, it is a constant battle. It's not always a bed of roses, to get the support, to get the right people behind you, to protect your work. And there's always this issue of intellectual property rights as well, which need to be respected, and being taken seriously as a woman, as a female artist. I was born and brought up in Birmingham, as well, so it's not in the what people in the arts would say the cultural capital, which is London. So there are a lot of obstacles that I faced, a lot, but I've managed to overcome some as well. And through that, I have gained support as well. So yeah, the struggle goes on, and we just want to go out there. I want to go out and make an impact. I want to be able to create equality and humanity, and keep pushing that, basically.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have one more. I think this is a comment from Amina Menam, who says, "Thank you, Fab Project, and love the blanket analogy." So indeed, this is a beautiful analogy. This is a beautiful way of weaving together all these narratives, all these testimonies and experiences. And we are very grateful that you shared it with us today. I don't know if you would like to say some final remarks.
Yeah, sure.
Before
I just want to, well, just to thank you, really. And if you have any feedback on the film, it would be great if you could send it over. We are collecting feedback, and we're also actually looking for an intern. So if anybody is interested in interning any of the students here today, that would be great. Please get in touch. And we just want to thank you for taking the time and for joining us today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It has been a very powerful screening, and thank you also so much for being present for the Q&A and for giving us this insight into your work and into the experiences of refugee and migrant women around the world during COVID. I think that we all leave today with a lot of food for thought. I would like to thank you again, and also thank our audience both for joining us and for the thought-provoking questions. And of course, the organizers, the team at Oxford Migration Studies Society, Rudy Magazine, Border Criminologists, and the Migration and Mobility Network. So this is it for this morning, but the Oxford Migration Conference continues this afternoon. We will have at 5 p.m. British Summer Time a panel on COVID and borders chaired by Professor Biao Xiang. And you can use the same link to join as you did this morning. If you're enjoying the conversation, please consider making a small donation to the organizations present at the conference, Art Connects, and also Otros Dreams en Acción, Border Violence Monitoring Network in Oxford, against immigration detention and state watch. It's via the Eventbrite link that you already know about. Take care. Thank you very much, everyone. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much, Salma.
Thank you.